In this video, I'm going to tell you the top 7 catastrophic mistakes that I see people making with their hardwood floors so you can avoid them. Number 1, choosing the wrong species of wood. I cannot tell you how many times someone comes to us with a picture of a beautiful wide plank, white oak floor and says, I want you to make my red oak floors look like this. But they also want to stick with a lower budget and install a narrow width red oak flooring in the house. Red oak is great, but there's nothing we can do to make it look like the popular wide plank white oak floors. We oftentimes can offer what they truly want for around 30% more money. But what holds them back is that they already have a kitchen or maybe a couple of rooms installed with that narrow plank red oak. And because of that, they can't let that go. It feels like a waste. My recommendation for you would be save up and get the floor you really want rather than compromising just because you already have a little bit of a floor you don't like that much. 2, choosing a non-refinishable type of flooring. We are getting ready to do a job for a nice lady that has a 6-inch wide, beautiful white oak floor. The only problem is the wear layer is 1 millimeter thick. That is super thin. It's been scratched and worn, and now she's stuck with 2 hard choices. 1, tear it all out and put real hardwood in, or 2, risk the refinish with the chance that we're going to burn through into the plywood in a few areas. If she had just spent the extra money 5 years ago, she could have had the floor she wants then, and she could also have it now with just the cost of a refinish. But I can't blame her. Dishonest manufacturers and dishonest salespeople will tell you that a floor can be refinished with these microscopic wear layers, but it's simply just not true. 3, filling the gaps in your hardwood. I know you probably hate the gaps in your hardwood floors, but you know what I think you'll hate even more? When you fill them and it starts popping back out, it looks terrible. Pretty much throughout the entire United States, we have seasonal movement with our hardwood floors. When they push together, when it's wet outside, the wood filler crushes and cracks and the boards will oftentimes buckle. And you can't see this happen, but when those boards press together, the edges of them crush down a little bit if you fill those gaps with wood filler. And then in the dry season, they're going to pull back apart. And now your wood filler is crushed and it's going to start popping back out with the brooming and the vacuuming. And beyond that, your board has gotten slightly narrower from the pressure that crushed the edges down. That is how the gaps grow over time. So I'd recommend either rip the floor out, get a new one installed with no gaps, or 2, learn to live with the gaps. They're just character. But whatever you do, please don't fill them all with wood filler. 4, rushing during the installation. When I started learning the hardwood flooring trade, I was working for a company that did high production work. We cranked out jobs super fast. We could get installs done faster than anybody around. And we had to because the company wasn't charging enough money for us to take our time. The floors looked nice, but we rushed the installs like crazy. 0 prep work and just slamming the floor together as fast as we could. You can't tell just by looking at it, but what happens over time is the floor is going to be much more creaky, it's going to move a lot more, it's going to fail a lot faster. If you're doing the floor yourself, just slow down. Make sure that you're closing all the gaps, you're setting any cleats that don't sink all the way. If you're hiring this out, it's going to be pretty easy to tell from the different quotes you get which company has budgeted enough time to do a really nice job. The highest price company has the most time budgeted to do your job. At the end of the day, all the companies have to make a profit. So if a quote is considerably lower, you need to ask yourself, if they're making a profit, what are they taking from me that allows them to be so cheap? 5, installing over a bad subfloor. You cannot have a solid hardwood floor if your subfloor is weak. The high spots need to be sanded. Loose spots should be screwed down to the joists underneath. And whatever you do, never, ever, ever install hardwood floors over pressboard subflooring. 6, failing to get maintenance coats done soon enough. As your wood floors wear over time, they're going to scratch and the finish is slowly going to wear down. Once the damage is broken through all 3 coats of finish, then you're going to have your floor refinished to fix it. But if you get a regular maintenance coat put on top, then you can avoid having to do the refinish so often. We recommend every 1 to 3 years. For example, my mother-in-law has 5 kids, 3 big dogs, they wear shoes in the house. That coat needs done every single year. Whereas an elderly couple with no pets and no kids around and they don't wear their shoes in the house, they are hardly ever going to need a maintenance coat. 7, cheaping out on the floor finishing products. Wood floor finishes range in cost from about $20 a gallon up to $175 a gallon or more. Needless to say, those cheap products do not hold up as well. Lumberjack, we're only going to use those premium brands. The cheap finishes have drying problems, they're very toxic to breathe, they oftentimes look plasticky when applied, and the list goes on. Premium finishes look much better, they don't have the plasticky look, they don't have those drying issues, and they are usually much more healthy to breathe. I would recommend asking any company that you hire what products they're going to be using on your hardwood floors. Thanks for watching this video. I just did one on hardwood floor acclimation that you should watch as well. It's right up here.